good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is my 2 Cents podcast. And this week I'm really excited because I got a really great guy on the other side of the phone, Paul Turner. In short, welcome, Paul.
Hey, hi, Rahim. Hello, everybody.
So for you guys, I know Paul now, I think about 4 years, 3 or 4 years. At the time, I was doing actually a major transformation project for one of our clients in France. And Paul was my contact in respect to the CTI integration for that organization. I worked with Paul for, at least, I think about a year and his team. And I was really happy with his support because that support was not just a supplier client relationship, but we actually really had a partnership. After that, we had some more engagements. I think we spoke one time. I spoke for you for the Salesforce team, but we kept in touch over the years. Now, I invited Paul to join in our podcast because I've seen him do something last year, which you generally don't see happening. Well, basically, you generally don't see team members within organizations take a massive lead in going online, going physical online, and sharing their experience and sharing information to clients around products and solutions their organization offers into market. Now, Paul has done some incredible funny things. I think the last one was last week, where I saw a video where he was interviewing himself as a robot. But maybe, Paul, can you introduce yourself shortly to the audience? And let's take it from there.
Yeah, thank you, Rahim. So, Paul Turner, I'm in sales. Simple statement. I actually look after new business sales and some strategic clients in Europe, and in fact, particularly Belgium, the Netherlands, and the Nordics. And it's a job I've been doing for a business called Vonage. But prior to that, we were New Voice Media. We were acquired. I've been in this role for 5 years. So if you're looking at the picture and you're watching on YouTube, I'm not so young, right? So I'm in my late 50s. I only went into sales 5 years ago. I'm having a blast. I'll happily answer the question, why did I go into sales? But before that, I was in this company, New Voice Media. Since 2009, I was the chief operating officer. So I've always been in exec positions, CEO, COO, CIO, roles like that, and done some finance work. But getting a bit older, had enough, finally took the plunge into something maybe I should have done years ago. So I'm in sales.
Nice. So again, in the beginning, I mentioned that you have been doing something since I think the beginning last year. I saw the first videos popping up on LinkedIn, on the socials, and it was actually really, I was on one hand, it was funny and a really good information around the CTI. And I can compliment that because what you are telling in those series is actually what we did in respect to implementing the CTI we bought from Vonage, at that time, New Voice Media. But what I'm more interested in is, why did you start doing those videos? What was your driver?
Yeah, it's a good question. And now I look back at that and I think it's become a thing now, right? I can't not do it. It's really the thing. But why? Why did I start? It's quite easy, really. 4 years ago, when I went into sales, I thought, in fact, the boss at the time said, Paul, you know what happens in sales? I mean, if you don't hit your number, you're fired. And I'm like, and I still have a mortgage, and I'm okay, do I really want to do this? And I thought, this is a new thing for me. So with my character says, I want to know how to do stuff that I'm doing. I don't like being ignorant or underexperienced. So in going into sales, I thought I need to find out a ton about this subject that's a bit of a mystery to people who are not in sales. So what do? You start reading. So I've read, and I can provide, in fact, lists of all the favorite sales books I've read, and I read books on sales and psychology and negotiation and tons of different material, but podcasts also exist. So I don't know, I think up to then I probably wasn't listening to podcasts, but 5 years ago, I started listening to a range of different sales podcasts, and I came across one, and it's called the Advanced Selling Podcast, run by a couple of men called Bill and Brian. And I think they are Midwest guys in the US. And you listen to a lot of podcasts and you settle on the one that you just like. I seem to get on with these guys. So I think for about a year or two, I'm listening, and they said, they talked about your brand, your personal brand. And I kind of listened, and they're saying, you really have to have one, and this is what you should be doing. And they kept talking about doing videos. I'm like, really? I mean, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. I wouldn't be any good at it. A lot of self-doubt, I suppose. It's not for me. But I got to the end of my first year, I did pretty well in sales. I guess with the background I have, maybe not having come from a sales background helps when you're in sales, because I don't think I come over as a classic slimy, sales ball guy. I'm hopefully a bit more ordinary. So they ran a course, and the course is called the Personal Brand Makeover. And I just thought, you know what, it's Christmas about 3 years ago, I'm going to do that. I think it was $175 US. So I paid, figuring, you know what, where I'm in enterprise sales, close one deal, my package is going to cover the cost of the course. So why not do that? So I did. And I then wrote some articles. And writing is actually, I find, tough, especially I'm a perfectionist. So I wrote 3 or 4. I thought they were okay. They had 10, 20, 30 views, reads on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is obviously the medium that I'm going to use in business. And that was it. Another year goes by. I had another good year. And I thought, well, I'm just lucky. I mean, what happens when my luck ends? I still don't know enough. And I still have a kind of like a self-doubt, but a fear that my success will end. So what am I going to do? Anyway, so wind back to then last year, Christmas. So where are we? March, 15 months ago. And I go through the holiday thinking, you know what? They keep Bill and Brian. I'm listening to their podcast every week, and they're saying to people, you've got to put some videos out. Okay. Take the plunge. So I bought some software. I don't use what I bought then anymore. So I've tried so many different software tools to get this right. And I thought I can do 10, let's just try. I mean, there's the challenge. What am I going to talk about? I mean, it's like, one thing, do you have a face for video? Secondly, do you have the technology to do this? Thirdly, will anyone bother watching? Fourth, what are you going to talk about? So, I was like, yeah, but I'm on sales calls all the time. I used to do the demos for people anyway. I've been in this company 10 years. Come on. I mean, every call we get asked questions, just write some down. So I looked at some of the questions we get asked, and I thought, yeah, I can probably get to 10 videos, and I think at the time I was doing 2 a week. So I did them. And I look back on them now and I think, God, what was I thinking? I mean, they were done in this room that I'm sat in now with a background that was literally a blue screen hanging. And then I thought I need lighting. So I got a light over here. And I was too close to the camera, and it just looked scary. And it looked like, I'm just my face with everything else is dark, lit up. The microphone wasn't right, the whole thing wasn't good. So I did 10, but in doing 10, it kind of started to happen. So I thought, I've got another load, I can do them. And then I moved outdoors. Anyway, I mean, I can talk about the journey that I've been on since then, but Rahim, to come back to your question, why did I start? It was partly driven by that, just the Personal Brand Makeover course, a feeling that I could do it. And maybe, I suppose, eventually then I got a lot of compliments, and that helps. And people said, you're explaining it in a language I can understand. And I think I would like to think I'm can I be multicultural, international in my outlook? Yeah, I've worked in all over the world. I lived in Malaysia for a while, and I've got a lot of Asian friends and a lot of friends who don't speak English very well. So because of that, I try to slow down my language, explain things without using technical terms, and put it in a language which, you know, a relative at home would understand, or my son or daughter would understand. Because I think, you know, the work that I do, it's cloud-based contact centers and telephony. It can get technical so quick, and people are like, whoa. And I want to try and talk about it in language that people will understand. But anyway, back to your question, that's why it started.
Yeah, nice. Well, I recognize a lot of your story also in my own story. I wrote a lot of blogs, a lot of things on my own website. I've been doing that for years. It takes time. It takes time to write a good blog. It takes time to get it out there. I noticed that the responses online were okay, not too much. But when I got into a chat with clients, it really punched back. Hey, I read your blog and I read that and I read that. So it helps with giving you a status within your existing network and increasing that. Taking that the next step, because I think that when you do this, ultimately you don't do this just because you want to change yourself. You don't do this because you think it may be valuable to someone to look at my podcast. What for you have been advantages you have seen develop over, let's say, the last 15 months from when you started doing this up till now? And I would like to see those advantages actually on two levels. One, work life, because ultimately you're doing a lot of podcasts for Vonage, for your organization. But on the other side, what has it done with you as a person? Because I think there are two levels of things you should get out of it when you start engaging on things like doing a podcast, doing videos and webinars. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so benefits generally. I was surprised. I mean, I think you embark on it, you have no clue where you're going to go. Unless you've been there before and you're just repeating yourself. How would you know how things will develop? And I think one of the things that I read and understood was you just have to keep going. I learned about the LinkedIn algorithm, by the way, which is consistency, how to hashtag, and how to get your views up and the engagement up. So I got some engagement. Some things surprised me. Some videos got tons of engagement. I hashtagged Barack Obama on a video once. I mean, that hit the spot. I got about 10,000, views of that video because I watched him in San Francisco at Dreamforce, the Salesforce event. So I was very lucky to do that. So I'm kind of learning, and some things I put a lot of effort in and only got a small engagement, but I understood engagement's important. But people were commenting. I mean, it was nice to get some feedback internally at Vonage. Vonage people were saying, hey, we watched your videos. And in fact, senior people in the company would occasionally drop me a note and say, oh, by the way, like some senior guy in the finance team or somewhere else, I'd never even met him, but I wanted some input on something. He said, by the way, me and the whole team, we're learning from your videos. And I thought, wait a minute, you work in the company I work for, and you don't know enough about the solution that you need to learn from a basic video I'm doing. And then I thought, wait a minute.
Don't worry about this one, because that's normal. In most companies I've worked for.
Yeah, the people who are the accountants and the people who fulfill different functions, why would they know the details of the solution and so on? And people in billing and so on. So, but that was nice to get. But it really hit home to me. One client that, as an organization, we went into partnership with last year, the fifth biggest retailer in the world, headquartered in Europe. And I think one of the early calls we went on, one of them was kind enough when they were introducing themselves. We're on a video call like this. And they said, hey, Paul, by the way, we all watched your videos. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, really? And I thought, clearly what I've understood and learned is people do some due diligence. You're the guy going on the initial call in sales, and LinkedIn's there. People are going to check you out. So I, of course, being fairly systematic in what I do, will look to who I'm on a call with, research them, probably connect with them on LinkedIn. I don't push my content. I hope they take a look. And it happened again recently, actually. I was on a call with someone and they mentioned that they watched the videos. So for me, that was just fantastic. One thing that you might notice is I try not to push anything in the videos. I wanted to make them just educational and not selling. So, I was quite keen. Somebody actually shared a book with me. So I really liked it. It's a book called They Ask, You Answer. And it's by a guy called Marcus Sheridan. And I liked this book, and it really helped me understand kind of after the fact, why am I doing this and what is the benefit of doing it? This book, his story, by the way, he's a pool guy in America. His company made swimming pools for people in their homes. And he's one of many such companies. And you need to read the book, I guess. But in the end, he started saying, I'm going to answer questions in advance of them being asked and post them on my website. And his website has become the world fountain of knowledge for pools. And he's just saying, I'm going to tell you stuff that I'll send you elsewhere. I just want people to recognize that I am. So for me, it's about being a consultant. So I've learned so much about being it's helped me in sales. Think, I don't just try to sell our stuff. I try to educate the prospect who I'm working with. So whether it's my whole approach in sales or the videos, I want to educate them. I want them to have all the information they need in as neutral a way as possible so they can make an informed choice. And I'm actually even, dare I say it, happy when we have conversations and I will go, you know what, I don't think we have the right solution for you. And I think you should go here instead. And I recommend an alternative solution. So that's what I'm trying to do with the videos. So I'm probably getting a bit off topic now, but on the business side, that's been a big benefit is knowing and hearing that prospects are watching the videos internally, staff are watching them. On the personal side, and you know me a bit, Rahim, and I'm a busy guy and I'm on it and I want to know stuff. And there's a great video actually the last video I did had a bit of Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, right? And there's a great motivational video. He talks about, you only need to sleep 6 hours a day. You've got 18 hours a day left to do stuff, blah, blah, blah. And just being all on something. I've got to have things to do. So I've loved learning how to do videos, learning how to edit, learning how to edit the voice, the audio part, merge things together, get things just right, upload them, subtitle, how do you do that? And different editing and culminating last week in a video I did that, I was watching the tool I'm using, how to do a copy of yourself on the same video. And I watched this and I thought, that is so cool. Can I do that? So that video that I just posted where I come back from the future and I interview myself, and obviously I'm hamming it up a bit, pretending to be a Terminator or something. And I mixed in other films that are wrong. I had a great time doing it. I spent 5 hours on Saturday, some help with my wife who read the script for me and sat opposite me. And then I blurred her out and the video tool. So why would you do that? Well, I'm just having a ton of fun. I mean, I'm learning something that I find enjoyable. I'm into tech. I like photography. I have a digital SLR and I edit my photographs first with a Canon piece of software to do that. I just like to know how to do these things. So what else would I be doing? My kids have left home. And I get such enjoyment from putting it out. So I had so much fun with that last video. Maybe I hope it showed.
Well, it really showed, but it's really I mentioned also on LinkedIn, you are funny. That was my first statement. For the people listening in and the people who are watching the video, I will put a link to that specific video in the comments. You really need to watch it. It's really funny with Paul sitting on the couch. It's really cool. Hey, Paul, one of the things I know from the past is that a lot of organizations, especially when you're in a corporate organization, there are so many rules of engagement in respect to what do you communicate, how do you communicate as a team member, et cetera, et cetera. I heard stories from other people asking me, Rahim, I really would like to learn how you guys do that and build that confidence to do podcasts, et cetera, but I don't think I'm allowed by the organization. How did, I think it was already Vonage at the time you started these podcasts, how did they support you in this? How did they have to change rules internally? Or did you just start it by yourself and went, okay, let's see what the reactions are?
So yeah, support from Vonage has been great. Yet at the same time, I would say non-existence, a wrong word, but there's been a deliberate thing here. So I didn't think about it to start with. So I just went ahead and, I can post on LinkedIn. I think there's a hashtag my company that people use. I mean, I don't use that actually. At the same time, we use a tool in LinkedIn called Elevate, where certain approved content, which could be external or internally developed, is people in sales or people otherwise, with LinkedIn profiles get encouraged to effectively repost content. Mine is not part of that scheme. Because mine is kind of unofficial in a way. So to answer your question, so I was doing the whole Elevate thing previously. The LinkedIn algorithm doesn't like it. The reason it doesn't like it is it's not original content. And it's the same content kind of cropping up everywhere. People know that the people post. I've got nothing against people who post, and I did it once. I mean, if you've got nothing better to do or say, you can help your brand by that messaging and reposting. That's fine. But I realized I don't want to do that. I want to put some original content out. But here's how I get around the rules, because yeah, of course there are rules. I mean, we have to brand to protect. Vonage do. There's IPR infringement issues that you would be mindful of. And we have a legal department who need to review everything that gets pushed out, but not my stuff. And the reason for that is that I'm not pushing or talking about Vonage in my videos. I'm just talking about cloud-based contact center integrated with CRM. Often I will talk about Salesforce. It's the one I know very well, of course. I'm talking in a generic way, and it's a really deliberate thing for me. I am trying to, I'll come back to what I said earlier, be a true consultant, impartially offering the best advice I've got. And if a prospect or a listener or a reader thinks, you know what, that's good advice, or I hope they do, right? That's good advice. I want to learn more. Who is that guy? Well, off you go on LinkedIn, go up to my profile, you'll click around and find out how to get in touch. And then it'll be obvious I work for Vonage, fine. But I'm not really there representing Vonage. I'm just there providing neutral, impartial advice about tools, techniques, benefits, issues. And, even sometimes I'm saying that things aren't good. You see business, I'll give you a little example. I mean, businesses talk about producing an ROI, a return on investment. And I read a stats book on holiday once, an easy to read, fun stats book, by the way. And it talked about bias, and it talked about statistical biases, and it talked about, biases of sample size and so on. And, the way a lot of organizations produce ROI and calculators, and that's little samples extrapolated times a million equals this huge saving. Really? And I don't like it. I don't agree with it. And I just think it's a poor way to do things. I've made videos saying this is a bad thing. This is why it's a bad thing. I actually did a video about that, about aliens landing on Earth and biting people as a metaphor for poor sample sizes and how they creep into financial presentations. I don't like that. So I'm completely free, because I am me and I'm not representing anyone, to talk about why I think that's a bad idea. So, it is an issue. Now, have I had conversations with Vonage's marketing department? Of course. Have we actually considered this together and realized and said, you know what, the conclusion was, Paul, you're doing a great job, you're having fun, and you're doing your personal brand, which is helping you. I think vicariously, Vonage, of course, benefit, because people look at the video and go, that's Vonage. Hey, I know Vonage, they are there. And it won't be me, it'll be somebody else at Vonage they talk to. Of course, I'm helping the Vonage brand, but I'm doing it in a very neutral, impartial way.
Yeah, nice. I think it's also a good thing to do, because you're also building your personal brand. As I know you, the good thing is, and also for people in the audience, I know Paul for quite some years. When I engaged with Paul, we were not talking about sales. I found Paul, I think in the spur of the moment. I was in the middle of the project and I didn't think about which CTI they would use. I know in one market we're using one tool, another market we're using another tool. I wasn't happy with any of them. So I got into contact with Paul, and he never sold me anything. He always advised me on how we could move forward and how we can do it quickly. Because I think between us signing a deal and effectively me contacting you, there was no more than 3 weeks in between. It went really fast. I think it was the fastest deal you closed ever.
Yep.
So actually really fast. But also during that engagement afterwards, we never talked about, we were never talking about a commercial relationship. We were always brainstorming on how we can do things better, how we can do things faster. I pushed Paul really hard because I wanted to have the best team. I only had, I think, 4 weeks to implement it in the midst of a full new Service Cloud implementation, in the midst of jumping into an area where I wasn't responsible for the sales part in that project, which was not running really well. So I had a lot of things going, and I was advised correctly. What we discussed at the beginning came back at the end. What we discussed in the beginning, the team members who worked on the project actually knew that they had to do it. So I really like that. And that's also what you see coming back in how you present yourselves online and how you push it into those videos. Going actually to the next question, because I'm still intrigued by organizations. I think that organizations can stimulate their people in doing more. From, you just now mentioned you guys use the tool. I forgot to write it down, but you guys use a tool where people can share those articles. I know from one of my previous employers, we also had a tool, bit of a gamification. The person who engages most gets the most points. At the end of the month was a prize. Effectively, there were 6-7 people of the 280 people working in that company who were effectively doing that just to win the prize. The rest of the organization, we could never get motivated to repost. Now, what I liked about what you were telling me is you're doing this, basically, you're building your own personal brand. That's basically what you're doing. But I still want to get back to organizations, because I think organizations can get more out of their team members in respect to motivation, dynamics, ownerships, entrepreneurship, which is something I always aim to stimulate. You know me, I always push people to think wider than their responsibility. How can organizations stimulate people like you, but maybe also other people within your organization or other organizations, to take that leap into getting online, talking about what they do within the organization, talking about what their vision is, and exploring that new way of going online instead of just going on TikTok or the other stuff and making funny videos? How would you think organizations can facilitate in that?
I think it's a challenge, because I recognize what you're saying, that you with a lot of people there are these incentives are offered. The top 3 people who achieve X this month can get that, a few dollars extra, or whatever it might be. And clearly it seems to me always the same people that go for that. And most people, I don't know what it is, they're lazy or not interested. what we're doing, maybe at Vonage, I can talk about. And we have a great guy running global sales enablement. And yeah, what he's doing is a series of interviews with certain, let's say we're talking sales here, so salespeople who are clearly being successful and not just one-hit wonders, but consistently successful. And I think maybe the hope is that if you're being successful for the right reason, you know, the kind of salesperson who is successful, but people hate them. I don't mean that, you know, the people who are jealous and guard their secrets as if they are, if I share them with you, then you might do better than me, and I'm not going to do that. I mean, really? No, but if I'd say they're people like me, but people in the organization who clearly just want to share, want to educate, want to help the organization grow, and get them to speak. Most salespeople I know, when you say, you know, we've got somebody who's being super successful consistently, you're in sales, you know, obviously it means you're up there in the charts and you're going to club or whatever it might be. Who doesn't want to emulate that? Do you want to hear and learn? People like learning from people like them, and people who've done it before rather than, you know, other people perhaps. So I do that. I mean, I do training internally about every 2 weeks. I run a class with my peers. I did several last year. I'm doing some at the moment, some with our US team, to try and help them with a whole ton of stuff around how to run your day, you know, how to get control of your inbox, how to go on a discovery call with a prospect, and will you stop talk? Well, here I'm talking because you're asking me questions, really. You're the sales guy in this relationship, but you know, if you're in sales, will you just stop talking? You know, will you ask good questions, not leading questions? I can't bear discovery questions. They're just so banal and amateurish. You know, and when you ask a question and someone gives you an answer, don't ask the next question on your sheet, but can you demonstrate you have been listening and ask us a further deep question about it? Things like that, I'm happy to help people with. And I'm happy to help encourage people who feel they're ready to establish their own brand. But to me, it's more than just a personal brand on LinkedIn is one thing. To me, that is actually part of a set of consistent behaviors, whether it's for me, my videos on LinkedIn that are, I hope, neutral and educational and helpful, the same style internally, the same style with prospects, the same style with my sales partners, and they know who they are, you know, in Belgium and the Netherlands and Nordic countries and Spain and so on. Same with them, where, you know, we'll talk about something, and I'm not just going to say, I'm not a desperate guy. I'm not going to come over as somebody who is going to give them any answer I can to win the deal or whatever. It's like, really? I actually believe in doing the opposite. And, you know, in fact, my discovery calls, the first call, you know, I'm at great pains to say to an initial prospect, I'm not here to do anything other than understand why you're here, what it is that you want, what you're looking to accomplish. And all the while I'm going to be listening, saying, you know, does that make sense to me? Do I think we've got something that could help you? I need to understand. At the same time, you probably want to do the same thing in reverse. And the only goal I've got is to see whether I think we can help. And if I don't think we can, then we can't. And I'm just going to tell you. And there's no pressure here. So to me, you know, the personal brand is about not just having videos. A real brand goes far deeper than that. Is everything about you, and the way you carry out the sale process, and the way you are totally transparent, and the way you are happy to prepare your client for what is going to happen. You can prepare your client for some things that might not go so well, and we have things that we do to do that. They're all part of brand. So coming back, Elevate was the tool I mentioned, but I think actually I keep seeing adverts from someone saying that's going to be discontinued, so I don't know about it. But like I said, I'm not using it. But it's very hard. I think you can lay out all that stuff. You can lay out the way that people could act. Some people will listen, want to succeed, and be open-minded enough to go, you know what, I can learn. There's another thing. Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to accept you don't know everything? But there are plenty of people who are going to go, you know, I'm in it for the money. I'm inherently lazy. I'm closed. My mind is closed to anybody else. Well, fine. There's nothing you can do, Rahim, with people like that.
True. Well, basically, you actually also answered my second question, my final question. What would be the top tips of becoming an influencer? What I liked about what you just now mentioned is you are your brand. That's one of the key things you put forward. Be consistent on all channels, your personal, your business channels, your online channel. Be consistent in what you actually want to bring to the organization. Is there one thing you want to share with people listening which will contribute to maybe them starting to do this as being an influencer? What would be the top tip you could give others?
I think that's actually quite an easy answer to give, because for 4 years I didn't. I'll steal the "just do it" line from Nike, right? But I'm sure they won't mind. But you know, for 4 years or 3 years I didn't. So just do it. I mean, really didn't think it was going to work for me. It's much easier once I got into it. Like with anything, you procrastinate. That's the word I was looking for. You know, you procrastinate, you come up with all the reasons why you can't do it. You can. Certainly, if you're answering questions from people, you can. It will be surprisingly easy. So go figure out the tech. That's the easy part. But in terms of content, you know, keep it short too. I mean, we're doing a longer podcast because obviously a podcast, people download it. They've got iTunes, whatever, they go for their run. We were talking about it earlier, you know, the 5K run is 30 minutes. That's the length of the podcast. For me, the video on LinkedIn, you've got a much shorter time span. And I've definitely, you know, I've done some 10-minute videos. I did one 20-minute one. Most of mine are 2-3 minutes. It's an elevator pitch to keep people interested and short and sharp. Maybe, who was it? Final comment. The great man, Winston Churchill, right, who was a wonderful orator, said, you know, if you ask me to speak all day, I can just do it. You know, no preparation required. But if I've got to give I think in his words, like a 30-minute speech, he needs all day to prepare. So shorter things may be harder to do, but it teaches you to be crisp, I think, as well.
Nice. So we are concluding actually the end of the podcast. We ran a bit over, but I think people would not mind. I think it was really, for me, it was really exciting to have you here. I see the poll, I know, so nothing has changed over the past few years. If people want to contact you or engage with you, because I think you are a real inspiration for people in respect to just jumping on this. This is new. I know I struggled a lot when I was going towards, okay, shall I do this? Will people like it, etc. But ultimately, from my perspective, I thought, well, yeah, I shouldn't be using the word, but fuck it. If it's new, I have to try it. I just have to do it. I will get better every day. There's also a bit of one of my life things I have for me. Just go and do it. So I like to just do it from Nike. But if people want to talk to you, contact you, maybe talk about their Salesforce challenge, their CTI challenge. How do they do that?
Yeah, best way, message me. I could say DM me. That's cool, Rahim. I'm 57 years old. DM me, but you know, connect with me on LinkedIn, and it's, I'm sure you'll put it up in a link. But it's Paul Turner, and then the number 64. There's a few Paul Turners on LinkedIn, so that's the link at the end of the IN/Paul Turner 64. And yeah, I'd be happy to help anybody that wants help. Always good.
Cool. Cool. Thank you again, Paul. This was really good, really cool, and really funny. What I will do after this session, I will when I post the video on YouTube and all the different social media, I will put the link to Paul Turner's LinkedIn profile. I will also look up the book he mentioned as one of the triggers. Maybe it could be interesting for you guys, and put some additional collateral links below the podcast and the video, of course. Thank you again, Paul. Any last words to the audience?
Yeah, I think I liked what you said. You know, you fear, you know, are you going to be good enough? You will be. So so you will. So just get on with it.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Speak to you next time.
Bye-bye.